In recent days and weeks, we've heard that Honda wanted to actually make Nissan a subsidiary, and that was unpalatable for the Nissan board.
But this is an autonomous story. It's FSD, and I continue to believe we'll be looking at a $2 trillion market cap by the end of this year.
And data is the name of the game. If you look at all of his companies, they're all spewing out different kinds of data. That's proprietary.
Will someone like Tesla come along and just take them out at the knees?
All that and more. So let's get to it. Tesla stock is down in the pre-market almost 1%. Now it's this type of pre-market action that makes me want to get a little bit gambly to the plus side. Who knows? Your boy just might place a call that expires on Friday just to see if Tesla can reclaim that benchmark of $400 per share. We'll check up on the situation 15 minutes after the opening bell and see if the juice is worth the squeeze. Speaking of which, Nissan having second thoughts.
Nissan is planning to walk away, or is going to walk away from its plan to combine with Honda here. This would have been a historic deal, frankly, for two Japanese auto majors, would have formed the fourth largest automaker in the world, and would have put a floor under a challenge for Nissan and given the Japanese auto industry at large so much more competitiveness. But why did this happen? Well, that report was according to the Nikkei. And originally, we had the board of Nissan meet this afternoon to decide whether to vote down this deal, and it's just because Nissan and Honda, when they decided to announce 7 weeks ago to the day that they would come together, this was all about Honda rescuing Nissan and giving a lifeline. But they would have been calling all the shots here, appointing the management team, appointing their structure, and choosing what to do. However, in recent days and weeks, we've heard that Honda wanted to actually make Nissan a subsidiary, and that was unpalatable for the Nissan board, and that's why they have voted it down. Of course, it's not a confirmation yet. We're waiting to hear from the companies, who so far insist that this deal still will go ahead. But the immediate reaction on the shares is that Nissan shares suspended fell as much as 6% or more, and Honda shares actually soared almost 11% as well.
Yeah, I can see how Nissan would want to balk at becoming a subsidiary to Honda. I mean, Honda Nissan was the goal. As a subsidiary, Nissan would essentially just be out there on a limb, still struggling, floundering even, and quite frankly, might be playing disrespectful. But what are you going to do when you're caught between bankruptcy and a hard place?
What is the next route for Nissan? Where do they go from here, given the challenges that company faces?
Yeah, given its financial struggles, given it has been cutting thousands of jobs and looking to downsize in some regard, I think there's a big question on whether it's in control of its own destiny, whether the Japanese government will get involved to say that it really wants to see a deal done, and whether that'll be taken out of the hands of the Nissan board, and whether Honda actually comes back again, whether it be on similar terms or on the original terms, something that is going to be a tough test, because aside from all of this M&A, the fact that we have these tariffs that are still yet to be put on between Canada and Mexico, and the reason why this is important is because for Nissan, they are at real risk, because 25% of their US sales, they come from imported cars from Mexico, so they have a lot of exposure, and if these tariffs come through 30 odd days from now, it's a real risk to someone like Nissan who's already struggling. So it remains to be seen what happens next, but whether the Japanese government does get involved again, it will be an interesting test to see of Nissan's resolve.
I believe the Japanese government may have something to say within the next couple of weeks about how this plays out. All I can say toward Nissan is pride goeth before the fall.
You have an outperformance of 550 target when that's more than $150 from where it is now. The Optimus volume production, the possibility of a low-cost vehicle, and more. All of these things are equally important, or what?
Yeah, look, I think 90% of the story is about autonomous FSD and really the future. I mean, I continue to view this as the most undervalued AI play in the market. I believe the AI story at Tesla alone is worth $1 trillion. Deliveries are going to ebb and flow. I get that. And even though I think we'll have a better delivery number, than they've even, roundabout guide for 2025, But this is an autonomous story. It's FSD, and I continue to believe we'll be looking at a $2 trillion market cap by the end of this year.
Let's not get it twisted. Tesla still needs to sell EVs. Got it. Noted. But more importantly, they've said that they're going to launch unsupervised FSD in Austin. Elon seemed pretty adamant by saying June. So give or take a couple of months maybe. But regardless of what the EV delivery numbers are, as long as they're not below 1.5 million, I doubt the shareholders, retail or institution, is going to care as long as they meet that promise of an unsupervised situation in Austin sometime this year. But this is one timeline Elon might want to keep. Me personally, I don't give a shit. If it happens this year, next year, as long as it happens, I'm going to be a happy camper. But at this stage of the game, the only thing I think that could crater the stock, besides him selling shares for whatever reason, would be if he punts on this timeline. And I'm not talking about a pooch punt, right? If it doesn't happen in June and it happens in October, I think people will be fine. But if it doesn't happen in June, it doesn't happen in October, it doesn't happen in December, and it happens sometime in Q2 of 2026, yeah, that's a lot of quarterly cause of him backtracking on what is going to occur with this unsupervised technology. And for better or worse, the stock will indeed suffer, but we'll cross those bridges as we come to them. As of right now, I have no doubt that Tesla employees in the Austin area will be utilizing an unsupervised ride-hail type network that will eventually branch out to limited consumers before opening up to the rest of the city and eventually the rest of the state.
There are a lot of people who think that he's not getting the okay and regulatory approval to have FSD in the way that he's hoping. Is that going to be a major hurdle?
I mean, look, the haters hate, right? I mean, they hated this sub 100 million, sub a billion. And of course, you know, as it got to a trillion, I think FSD in terms of in Austin, unsupervised, that's going to happen in June. That's 6 to 9 months ahead of where the street expected. Look, I get timeline, it's going to get pushed around, but that is the story right now for Tesla. It is about the autonomous piece of this story. And I continue to believe with Musk's front row seat in the Trump White House, it's a bet for the ages that's going to continue to pay off for Tesla shareholders.
Look, before any kind of regulatory approval is necessary, the technology needs to work. But humor me for a second. Imagine a scenario where Tesla full self-driving is now ready to be operated on many US highways and city streets. Now imagine municipalities and state governments all a little hesitant to want to grant Elon Musk a driverless ride-hail service within their cities. Barrier after barrier as you approach various different city limits, the bureaucratic red tape could become enormous. But now, from a federal level, you have something of a clear pathway. Let's just call it green lights, if you will. These green lights, along with states that have very little autonomous regulation, will be a catalyst of sorts for the rest of the country and, dare I say, the rest of the world. The biggest hurdle is getting the technology to function better than a human, significantly better than a human, but we don't need to add any more obstacles when it comes to regulation or bureaucracy. That's what Elon has done when he's aligned himself with Trump for the next 4 years. As soon as the technology is deemed safer than a human, nothing but green lights, baby. Kathy, go ahead and hammer this point home for me, please.
Kathy, when you take a position like you have with Tesla, how much is that based upon the idea that you have a guy like Elon Musk at the head of all that stuff?
Well, we have a 6-point scoring system, and the first score is management. Management, right. People, and culture need a visionary management, especially when it comes to innovation these days, because these companies need to invest aggressively, as Tesla did in 18, 19, 20, in order to capitalize on massive opportunities. And in fact, with AI, it's winner take most opportunities. So they need to stand up to more traditional investors who want their dividends, their profits, their share repurchases now. So you'll not find many of those stocks in our portfolio. You'll find stocks like Tesla.
So does it bother you that the head of Tesla seems to be spending most of his time kind of involved with the federal government. Is that a knock on your sense of the outlook for Tesla? Or do you expect Elon Musk to come back full time to running his companies?
Yeah. So as I said, the first score is management, and we look carefully at what management is doing, how management is spending its time, and how a visionary leader like Elon Musk is surrounding itself by brilliant people who want to solve very hard problems. If you had listened to Tesla's last conference call last week, you would see how focused Elon is on any pain points or bottlenecks. So he's highly focused on getting this autonomous taxi network up and running this year, clearly. He's maniacally focused, it seems to me, more than I understood before listening, on humanoid robots. We've, in our big ideas, you'll see a section on humanoid robots, and we think that humanoid robots are going to benefit small companies more than large companies, which is a big change. But as far as Elon spending time making the government more efficient, I'm actually thrilled. And there's something that people do not understand about Elon. Elon understands that we are in the midst of a massive convergence among technologies, and that AI is the biggest catalyst among the 5 major innovation platforms evolving now. So robotics, energy storage, AI, blockchain technology, and multi-omic sequencing. He understands those convergences. He's involved in 3 of them. And data is the name of the game. If you look at all of his companies, they're all spewing out different kinds of data. That's proprietary. And that's the name of the game in terms of winning all kinds of AI races out there. And of course, the government is filled with data itself. I don't think that's why he's there. He's there to make it more efficient, and we're thrilled.
Uber in bear market territory, off 20% from those all-time highs that we saw just last October. Andy, when I look at this, is this inflationary fears? Is this Robotaxi? What is it? And is your data kind of reflective of the pullback?
Yeah, I think it's definitely Robotaxis, the primary driver here of the pullback, and I think for pretty good reason. You know, when you look at what Uber is doing, they have definitely the best logistics software for getting people or items from point A to point B using a driver in a local environment, and I think that technology is going to be very, very valuable in the future. The problem that they have is, you know, eventually they want to get to the point where the cars don't need a driver in order for people to use their services. But it's very difficult to scale that in terms of the actual physical cars that are capable of doing that. And competitors like Tesla, or potential competitor like Tesla, has the scale built in already. They can produce hundreds of thousands or 1 million vehicles in a year. They can roll out an autonomous driving army fairly quickly, at least compared to what Uber would rely on in partnerships with GM or Waymo or Aviride or whatever.
Ooh, the Uber conundrum. Now, don't get me wrong. Uber is a fantastic company doing great things. But unfortunately, Tesla has decided to enter their ecosystem, launching a driverless ride-hail service of sorts by June in Austin. When they do it, Tesla will be successful. As they grow in confidence, they're going to be launching it all over the state of Texas and beyond. The only company capable of manufacturing this army of robotaxis, as Andy would put it. Everyone in the ride-hail space ought to be quaking in their boots.
So Uber's a little bit stuck right now. It's in a little bit of a holding pattern, as I think investors are right to wonder, you know, what is the next step for this company?
I agree. You know, we've always talked about this on this show, how the app is the golden goose here, right? That app is incredibly forward-looking and forward-thinking. But we were always wondering about, if there's no drivers, who owns the car? And how's that going to play out over time? And now there is doubts. But I think you make a great point. A company like Tesla is still going to need a partner. They're still going to need a software unless Elon Musk and Tesla are going to make the software, create the software for that.
What? Tesla? Need a partner? No. While Uber's app is nice, I'm pretty sure the Tesla app will be even better.
I think they have a really reasonable expectation for growth in the short term, and by short term, I mean 1 to 3 years. I think this is one of the best companies in the world, but what is now hanging out there because of the leapfrog type of advances in technology is this looming threat of, the one company in the world that can actually produce the cars is also making the cars drive themselves and is potentially, a few lines of code away from replicating at least 90% of the logistics software that Uber has. That's a really big threat out there, and it all of a sudden makes Uber a binary bet. And so you're kind of betting, will Uber find a partner, find a scaling solution, or be acquired, or will someone like Tesla come along and just take them out at the knees and the whole thing is over?
Sweep the leg, Johnny. In conclusion, Nissan isn't happy the way Honda has them bent over a barrel. Rightfully so. But let's not get it twisted. All of these legacy auto manufacturers, they're going to be struggling in a similar way within the next 5 years. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow for any of these titans as the technology convergence pushes them out gradually. Depending on Tesla's execution, this could be a bumpy ride for everyone. Just recently, CNBC had a segment discussing how Mercedes has a better ADAS system than Tesla. Part of me wanted to go through that and rip it to shreds, but it's relatively pointless. Consumer Reports is responsible for the testing. They're on a closed course. They're using Fords, Blue Cruise, GMs, whatever. Just a bunch of level 2 systems, seeing how the autopilot of Tesla compares while mixing in some of the verbiage for full self-driving. I believe they had Tesla's ADAS system 8th on the list. Their biggest point of contention was Tesla's ADAS system didn't allow the driver to manipulate the wheel while it was active. Needless to say, some of the criteria of their testing really doesn't matter when you're talking about an autonomous ride-hail service, eliminating the human element from driving altogether. I'll have the video clip in the description below just so you can check it out for context. But believe you me, there is no software quite like full self-driving. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get out there and test it some more after I complete this video. And while the stock market sleeps, not expecting Tesla to recognize any significant revenue from this technology for another 15-24 months, I'll continue to quietly gather more shares and enjoy the fruits of Tesla's labor. That's all I've got for you today. Be easy. Peace.